Welcome back, blade fans, to another bright and shining knife review, because we have 5 bright and shining knives with us today. The theme here is Kizer knives with titanium handles and S35VN blades. No inserts, no insets, no G10, no carbon fiber even, just plain and in many cases nicely sculpted titanium handles. All of these also have S35VN blades, while maybe no longer a super steel, they are still a solid knife blade steel. Let's begin with the smallest guy in the block. And this is the Kizer Splinter, a design by Tomcat Designs. And Tomcat is Tom Stokes, so I have read. There you see his moniker there. And you can see the name of the knife, and Kizer, and S35VN, and possibly a model number there. This is one of the original Kizer Splinters. They now have them out in anode and in some other handle materials as well. Very lightweight knife. By the way, you need to know more about any of these. There are individual reviews on each of these knives out on my channel. But look at this great sculpting, millwork on that handle. Very cool. We got a titanium backspacer. Got lots of screws. We have a lanyard hole, and the clip, although it is titanium, is one of the few that is switchable to the left side. Have a drop point, kind of spear pointish blade. Comes in at 3 1/4 inches. Again, very light. And the tricky thing with this knife is it's very easy to press on the lock bar when you're trying to do, come on. Yeah. This one's been a little problematic since the beginning. You got to get way back on it, and it opens easy, no problem. You put the slightest little bit of pressure on the lock bar and forget about it, because you have no jimping on the flipper. So yeah, it's got a few little downsides, but any knife that you work with long enough, you learn to open it, you learn to handle it, and it's a fine little knife with a high flat grind. Plenty of room for all my fingers, and darn good looking besides. Frame lock folder. And these are all frame locks. Let's jump over to the right. This is one I acquired recently. A John Gray model. And this is the GPB1. That is a gray pocket beast. I believe it's beast. It is a large knife. Again, just did a review on this guy, so if the acronym is wrong, I will self-correct. Giant pivot pin. One of the largest of the Kizer all titanium knives that I have. Smooth through and through, with that really long spoon-like clip. A pivot screw that you can adjust with a coin. Not a bad deal when you're out in the field. Oh, it's the Pocket Brute, not the Pocket Beast. My bad. It's the gray Pocket Brute number one, and it is a brute of a knife. And it's gorgeous. Got that kind of a modified Wharncliffe blade. Smooth as silk, and 7 ounces. All right. Here we have a Dirk Pinkerton design, Persian inspired. This is the Nomad. So if you're a nomadic person in the Middle East carrying a Persian inspired blade, this might be the modern version that you carry. All silver titanium, except for some reason they put a black clip on, and it is a titanium clip, I guess for a little bit of contrast. Interesting that the mill lines from the handle go right through and are followed in the design on the clip. Frame lock folder, hardened steel inserts, S35VN, and a longish blade. Told myself I wouldn't measure, but got to every now and then. 3 3/4. Looks bigger than that though. Flat grind about 2/3 of the way up. No jimping. And 3 giant barrel spacer standoffs. And that's it. So if you don't like a lot of screws, you may or may not like those in the pommel. I think they sort of add a certain class to it. Look at the millwork. Just really neat, and gives you that added grip that you need in an all titanium knife so you don't slip. Although you've got a heck of a nice guard there. Just excellent example of a Persian with the downturn handle and the upturn trailing point blade. Dirk Pinkerton design, Kizer Nomad. Designer of this knife is Marshall Noble, and this is known as the Vindicator. Now, when I first put the review out on this knife, Marshall was kind enough to comment on my YouTube review, and he said a lot of people don't like this very proud standing flipper, but he said the reason that it's there is that it is a way to lock your finger in, maybe this way, if you're going to use the real nasty pommel impact extension at the end, and to serve as a guard and a place to put between your fingers if you're going to go forward and use that sizable finger choil. And he said this echoes a 7-inch bladed fixed blade that was the prototype for this folding Vindicator. You got a very quickly dropping point there, makes almost what you call it, kind of a sword point reverse tanto, is it? But you got plenty of belly on that blade. I'd have to call it a clip point, but it is a far different clip point than that long clip you're used to seeing on a Bowie, for instance. So again, almost a reverse tanto, except you got that pronounced belly right there. Cut out for lock release. And just look at the work on this thing. Millwork is fantastic. The only person I know that does millwork like this is BlackRock, Ken Vehicate, on all of his customs. Kind of reminds me of that. So whether or not you like that big flipper, it definitely works real easy. And again, he said that it is a place you can kind of lock your finger against in this grip, not that grip. Or if it's open and you're using it this way. So very nice of Marshall to comment on the original review. You can check that comment out if you go back to the original review for the Vindicator. 3.5 inch blade on this guy, again S35VN and titanium. Last but not least, the Zugong. And this is, I believe, an internal design by Kizer. The ancient kanji or characters on this knife, and I believe I'm holding it correctly that way, do say something special. I read it once, what it says. If you can read it and you know, then there you go. You can freeze frame on that. But this is designed after a dandao, a Chinese sword, or even a broadsword, where you have that same style blade, except, of course, very, very much larger than this 3.5 inch blade. Both the thumb studs and the flipper tab work extremely well on this. Ergonomic handle with the gentle swell here and near the end. Good place to put all your fingers. Many of these knives do not have jimping on the spine. Marshall didn't feel that a whole lot of jimping out here was needed, although there's jimping right there. And smooth here on the Pinkerton design Nomad. And on the, see if I can open it, Tomcat designed Splinter, no jimping. And on the, I have to look at the acronym again, GPB1, also smooth. So you're going to have to lock your hand in the finger groove. I know some people don't like me calling that a choil. Technically it's not. Finger groove. You find your own way to kind of hang on. But aesthetically, I love all these knives because they just are carved works of art in titanium and S35VN. What can I tell you? Hope you enjoyed this particular collection. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. This Old Sword, signing out.